Good morning and welcome to Norcal PTAC's introductory webinar, How to Do Business with the Government. This is an introductory level training that we put on monthly to help folks just like you who are interested in government contracting, but want to get a little bit more information and figure out what it takes to be successful. My name is Amanda Anderson. I'm the program coordinator for Norcal PTAC. And this morning, I'm joined by our fantastic procurement specialist, Nancy Pigeon. Now, before I pass it off to her, I want to let you know a little bit about what PTAC is and how we can help you along your government contracting journey. So PTAC is a federally funded program through grant funding, and it funds 96 nationwide PTAC centers that are here to help you, businesses just like you, with anything and everything related to government contracting. And because we are federally funded, all of our services are offered to you at absolutely no cost. And in California, which is our relative service area, there are 7 different PTAC centers that service this massive state. And as an announcement, I'm pretty sure you've probably heard, the PTAC program at a federal level is being fully rebranded to APEX Accelerators. So as long as you're hearing PTAC or APEX Accelerators, you know you're in the right place for government contracting. And a little bit more about Norcal PTAC, that is who we are. We service the Northern California area that you see on the map on your screen, and we offer no-cost assistance through 3 main services. Our one-on-one procurement counseling, which allows us to match you with a procurement specialist, just like Nancy, that you can meet one-on-one and get specific help for specific contracting-related topics that your business is going through, like maybe you need a SAM registration, or the Women-Owned Small Business certification. Or maybe you have a solicitation and you want your proposal to be reviewed. Maybe you already got a contract and you need help complying with all of the regulations and that you need to. We can help with all of that through our one-on-one counseling. Our other service, our custom bid matching, is very much a golden star to our program. Our custom bid matching is a service that scrapes the internet for any and all solicitations that are relevant to you based on criteria that you set forth with your procurement specialist. So criteria like location, industry, what you sell, or what services you offer. And so this custom bid matching service scrapes the internet and finds all of those relevant solicitations and sends them directly to your inbox. It's a fantastic way to make sure you're keeping up with the opportunities that you want to be seeing. Now, our third service is one you're actually taking advantage of right now, our resources and training. Our website, norcalptac.org, has a ton of beneficial resources, from how to do business with the state to federal certifications, and so much more that you can use and at absolutely no cost, whether you're a client with us or not, as well as our webinars and trainings. We host a plethora of trainings and workshops throughout the year, both in person and online. So making sure that you're keeping up to date with our event calendar and taking advantage of all of these free training events is going to be crucial and only beneficial to you. And as a little feather in our NorCal hat, in 2021, our clients won over $500 million in contracts. And in 2022, while we don't have quite the full statistic yet, I guarantee it has increased. So if you are looking to get into government contracting, please feel free to sign up with Norcal PTAC at our website, if you are within our service area. The Northern California service area, those businesses are the only ones that we can help. But like I said, the PTAC program is a nationwide program and has centers throughout the country. So if you're not within our service area, you can go to that link, www.aptac-us.org, and you can find your local center. Like there is one in Sacramento, as I see a couple of folks asking about Sacramento. You can connect with the Sacramento PTAC and they can assist you with one-on-one counseling. And I do want to emphasize a bit more about the breadth of services and different topics that we can help with, from crafting capability statements, with which every government contractor really should have, to how are you marketing to these government agencies, and is there opportunity for your service and products, to reviewing your proposals and helping you after you win a contract and making sure that you're compliant on all levels, to even local certifications, like the San Francisco has the local business enterprise certification, to SBIR and STTR programs that help developing startups with proprietary services or products. We help with pretty much anything government contracting related. But I do want to note, we cannot help with general business services, such as business advising. We don't offer funding for businesses. We can't help with setting up HR or payroll systems, though there are free resources out there that can. And as one final little notice, if you are familiar with Norcal PTAC and you visit our website, as you should, to take advantage of all of these free resources, you'll find that it has been redesigned to an extent. I want to make sure, because there are quite a few scams out there, this is what our new webpage looks like. You're looking for that Norcal PTAC logo and that big red Apply Now button. As long as those are there, you should be in the right place for our services. And with that, I will go ahead and pass it off to Nancy. Are you there, Nancy?
You had to give me the mouse. You were.
Oh, apologies.
That's okay. Let's see. Can we go back?
Let me go ahead.
There we go. I got you.
Remote control.
I got it. Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Sorry about our our little struggle over the mouse there. That's what always happens when you're sharing a screen. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a retired U.S. Air Force E9, a Chief Master Sergeant. I did 22 years in the Air Force. My first 10 years were very exciting. I was in ammo, so I built munitions for A-10 aircraft out there in Tucson, Arizona. And then I got wise and cross-trained into contracting. So I did about 12 years in contract. And I really enjoyed it. When I retired from the military, I was an Air Force civilian for 2 years. And then I came back out to California. This Air Force civilian was in Ohio. And then I went to the Veterans Affairs in Sacramento for 4 years as a training officer, and I did some buying there. And then I moved to the Bureau of Reclamation, also in Sacramento. I was a contracting officer, and then I moved into being a small business specialist, and I was there about 4 years. When I decided to retire from the federal service, this opportunity came up for Norcal PTAC, and I jumped on it. I was really excited to started helping small businesses get into government contracting, helping them with all the registrations and certifications and everything that goes along with that. My specialty, of course, is federal because I spent all my years in federal, but over the 4 years that I've been here, I have learned California state contracting as well. I mostly enjoy doing the one-on-one counseling because it's a personal service where we review where you are in your business and how to move forward into government contracting if it's right for you. Maybe we start out local and move up from there. But I do enjoy the one-on-one counseling, getting to know you and helping your business move forward, or giving you the best advice possible of whether you're ready for government contracting. And that's kind of why we're doing this presentation today. Are you really ready for government contracting? So the little disclosure screen here, everything in the slides are current and accurate as of today. If you're, reviewing this training a year or so from now, or even a few months from now, some things may have changed, some links may have changed. So just be aware that everything is current as far as we know today. Here's our agenda for today. And, we had what is the APEX Accelerator, but Amanda did an excellent job of going through all of that for you. So we can skip that one on our agenda and we'll just go right into what is government contracting and then how to determine if selling to the government is right for you. Very important step. Then how to get started, how to market to the government, where to find the bid opportunities, and then some steps for success. So that's our agenda for today. So our first one, of course, is what is government contracting? Well, government contracting, if you know the federal government, the state, the local, they're all entities within themselves. So you should consider them a large business. And of course, if you're in business, you have to buy things for your business. And so that's what government contracting is. They buy a lot of things. So you can see on the screen here, we have, they buy everything from the office supplies, firefighting, janitorial is a really big one. Janitorial and ground maintenance is a very large part of contracting. Even larger is construction. A majority of the contracts are construction, and that's why the dollar amount, the US government, the federal government spends about $600 billion a year in contracting. A lot of that is weapons and construction. So just remember that if you're in the construction industry, we can definitely help you out there. And again, they buy food for the canines. Most of the services have canines, fruits and vegetables for the DFACs, the dining facilities. And then we did have one contract here locally where they wanted to hire goats to take down some weeds in the fields. So we did help with that one. So it's just a wide range of government contracting where they'll write a contract to you to perform a service or to supply with something. And the good thing about government contracting is it's pretty regulated. So there's always going to be a fairness in the bidding opportunities, whoever provides the best service for the lowest price. It's pretty regulated in that, determining that the price is fair and reasonable. They don't want to pay too much for something. They want to get the right price for the contract. So anything you can think of, the government probably buys. And if you're in any industry, you'll want to look into it, starting out local and moving forward. So let's move on to the next slide. So appropriate industries for government contracting. So this is kind of important because there are things that the government does not buy. And a lot of those are like personal service type things. So of course, anything illegal like cannabis. So cannabis is still illegal in the federal realm. So those are less appropriate. The government is not going to contract for cannabis. And even our services, we can't help you with any cannabis type contracts or anything for the state of California. Anything that involves cannabis with the state of California, we're not allowed to help you with that because we're a federally funded nonprofit agency. Restaurants, typically not restaurants. However, if you do have catering services, there may be a little niche for you to provide catering to say the firefighters in Northern California, if you happen to do that. So we can always look into that, that little niche area. Bars, we're not going to pay, the government's not going to pay for alcoholic beverages. Entertainment, not usually entertainment unless you're like a air show, you put on air shows or things like that. So there's always an exception. In government contracting, there's usually an exception to the rule, we always say. But usually well-being and holistic health, clothing retailers, luxury items, those are usually a personal type item that the government would not buy for anyone in their agency or anything like that. So, but they do buy, Public Works, A&E, I kind of talked about that already. That's a huge portion of the budget goes to Public Works and A&E. Professional services, a lot of times the government doesn't have the manpower to do some of their services, and that's what they contract out, any type of professional services. A lot of it can be medical employees, or I'm trying to think of another example. Graphic design. I know I work with a lot of graphic design and marketing people, and just anything where it requires a degree to perform the service is what a professional service is. And again, there's always the office supplies. If you have your business, you know how much office supplies you go to. Just imagine that, 100 times for federal government and the state governments. Janitorial, I would put janitorial and ground maintenance in the same category here. Those are two huge things, especially on the federal side. If you go to any federal campus or a base or a naval station, the janitorial and the grounds maintenance are always going to be contracted out. They don't have, they used to do the things in-house, but over the years, they've slowly contracted them out. They used to do the studies to determine whether it was better to do it in-house or to contract it out. And now pretty much everything is contracted out. Even some of the work that the federal employees do are contracted out. So you can't even say that it's just just these types of services. Sometimes professional services are called in to even help with the government work. Information technology, this includes the computers, as well as hiring IT professionals to man the IT centers. So it includes both. And of course, medical supplies and technology, that's a really big one too. Any of the x-ray machines, or even the littlest thing, medical supplies are needed and they contract for. Transportation and logistics, of course, moving people around, moving people's housing around if they're military or being relocated. Fire suppression services, that's a big one too. This can include the fire alarms, the actual suppression, and even hiring firefighters. Then of course defense. Defense is, I always call it the big A acquisition, because a lot goes into that. Weapons and aircraft and anything that's related to the defense of the country is a huge portion of government contracting, especially federal Department of Defense contracting. Okay, and here's this is a good sample that we use this a lot. Pelican Bay State Prison is way up in Northern California. There's not much around it, so they always have problems getting supplies and services. So this is just an example of everything that they're looking for, and it's hard because a lot of contractors don't want to travel that far to provide the services, or even to deliver the items. So you can see here's everything that they contract for, wide ranging there, from munitions to construction, copier supplies, personal care, rental services, staff fitness, staff lodging, USDA foods. They do buy a lot of food up there. They have to feed their inmates, vending machines, water testing service. So this is provided to show you a good list of what can be contracted out. And then they've included this construction contracting structure for large projects. So you'll have a government agency. This can even be, this can be federal government, this can be state. Most of the larger contracts, and we're talking, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts. We can use construction as an example. Usually there's going to be a prime contractor who is a large business, and this is particularly true in construction. And usually, construction is a wide range of things that need to be done. If we're doing a road, we may need someone who does the flagging, someone who does lighting at night, someone who, does the little things that the prime contractor doesn't. And again, the prime contractor also has the requirement to subcontract to small businesses. So he has a goal that he has to reach. He has to report to the government who he's hiring, what small business he's hiring, what percentage of work that he's giving them. So he's required to do that. So you can see the subcontractors down here. It says typical small business, and that could be you. So this is something we can discuss if you go on to do the one-on-one counseling. We can start looking at who prime contractors are in your industry, how to get a hold of them, how to market yourself to them. So that's one way of working up. Subs usually become prime contractors after a while once they start building up. So we can help you to learn those prime contractors, how to get in touch with them, how to market to them. Okay, recipe for success. So are you ready for government contracting? Typically, when we take on a client, they have to have an established business. We don't work with anyone who is just thinking about a business or has started putting things in place. If you're that business, we'll usually refer you to the Small Business Development Center because they can help you with your business plan, getting any loans, helping to get you established. So we don't work with anyone who's not an established business already. And you should have a business plan that includes government contracting. Again, you can work with the SBDC on that. We like you to have financial stability. Financial stability is important when working in government contracting because usually if you get a contract, you're not going to be paid for the first 30 days. Or if you deliver supplies, you won't get paid until you submit your invoice, and then it's 30 days after that. So you have to have the financial stability to be able to move on, even though you're not getting your payment for 30 days. So the government never wants to put anybody out of business or force you into bankruptcy. So that is one of the requirements. You have to have financial stability and hopefully a stream of income coming in. Past performance is really big in government contracting. They want to know that you have performed on this type of contract before. It doesn't necessarily have to be government contracting. It could be private sector. But past performance where you've actually performed on a job, you performed successfully. And also you could include a history of sales if you're doing supplies. So a history of sales, these are all important when you're going to do a bid or a quote. And market research, have you reviewed market research to determine that the government buys what you sell? You can do this yourself, but if you sign up for PTAC, we can also help you with this. So if you have everything else, established business plan, financial stability, you don't necessarily, well, we like to have you to have the past performance, but if you're just starting out, maybe you have one or two contracts under your belt or one or two performance under your belt, go ahead and sign up with us and we can help you do the market research on where else to expand in the government. Market research can be easy to do, but we're a free service, so why not have us help you do that and help you with all the other things as well that I'm going to mention later. This one's really important, the e-commerce capable website. Very, very important in this day and age to have that e-commerce capable website. If you're good, you could create one on your own, but it needs to look really professional. And include everything about your business, include your capability statement, include any government contract that you've done. I think we talk a little bit more about the website later in in the presentation. So we'll just move on from here. Okay, how to get it started. Okay, number one, apply for APEX Accelerator PTAC assistance. If you're on here today and you're thinking about government contracting, you have your business started, just go ahead and sign up and work with your APEX Accelerator. It doesn't cost you anything. I know in Norcal PTAC, we meet remotely, so we meet by Zoom meeting, so you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to travel to meet with us, which is really great, especially in the Bay Area. And so I just highly encourage you to do that, because then I can work one-on-one with you and go over all of this with you, and we can make the determination if you're ready or not, or what we need to do to get ready. I can help you, or if you want to go it alone, you can identify your target agencies, maybe who buys what you sell. Again, you can do that through numerous market research sites. We should have a few coming up on the slides later. Very important to choose your NAICS code, the North American Industry Classification System codes. This is how the federal government understands what you sell. It's how they put out their solicitations. They select a NAICS code, and that's a NAICS code that they're going to buy under. So you'll need to have all your NAICS codes sorted out and in your SAM registration if you're going to do work with the federal government. The state of California, which is another huge, I don't think I mentioned it, California is kind of a federal government on its own. It's actually like a nation on its own. It has huge buying power. The state uses UNSPSC codes, United Nations Service Product System codes, I believe it is. Sorry, I don't know that one off the top of my head like I do NAICS. So you would have to convert your NAICS code into the UNSPSC codes when you register in Cali Procure as a vendor and get your certifications. So these are two things that your counselor can definitely help you with. Sometimes it's hard to navigate that because the categories are usually pretty broad. That, if you do, something that's a bit obscure, you may have to find something that's really broad that you can later describe with keywords to get it down to your specification. You want to register in Cali Procure, we can help you do that. You'll register as a vendor, and then you can also get certified as a small business entity. Register on sam.gov, get a UEI and cage code. I would even recommend this. I would recommend to do this and get the UEI and cage, because a lot of times some of the states will want to know what your cage code is or want to know if you're registered. Complete the dynamic small business search, and that includes a capability narrative, keywords, past performance. This is where contracting officers look to see if you're a small business, so it's really important to have the capability narrative, the keywords, and past performance, and we can definitely help you with that. Sometimes it's available in SAM when you register, but other times you have to kind of go through the back door of the SBA to update those. Then, of course, to create the capability statement or the SOQ. And we'll talk about that in another slide. Make sure your website is government friendly, and we have another slide on that as well. So that's kind of how to get started. But I highly recommend working with the APEX Accelerator to get going. Otherwise, it gets really frustrating, and we don't want you to get frustrated to do this. Okay, and then the socioeconomic size and socioeconomic certification. These just set your business apart if you qualify. And this also, prime contractors will be looking for these certifications because, like I said, they have to subcontract to small business entities, small business public work entities, or disabled veterans, especially in the state. There's usually always in the solicitation how much work that the prime contractor are going to give these. So we can register you or get you certified in these in the California website, Cali Procure. United States federal certifications include the SDB, which is a self-certification in SAM. And then certifications that you actually have to fill out an application for are the woman-owned small business or economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, the veteran-owned small business, the historically underutilized business owned, the 8A business development program, or the disadvantaged business enterprise, which is state funded, or which are federally funded state contracts. So Think of transportation, Caltrans, Rail Authority, and the airports. But we can help you with all these certifications if you qualify. And again, it just helps set your business apart, and it also attracts primes to your business. Local contracting, we usually have you start with local contracting before you jump in the big federal arena. This is where you can get your experience, your past performance. You can look for city, county, school districts, transportation agencies, anything that you can get a contract in and get that past performance. And typically local agencies, this isn't the state use Cali Procure, but local agencies, they each have their own way of publishing their solicitations and how they do their bids, how they do their requirements. So you want to be aware of that. Sometimes they use paid service for solicitation, so you'll just have to be aware with that. We have local business preferences like the LBE, and Alameda has the SLEB. So you'll just look in your local county to see what certifications you can get from the county. And then we do have a link of the local agency procurement sites that we put out for you. You can also Google like San Francisco Procurement Division, and it should come up and tell you where to find their bids or how to do business with them. Okay, capability statement. So a capability statement is really a resume for your business. It's usually one page front and back. Sometimes they'll tell you to just do one page, but I think if you're going to go and hand them out, you may as well do the 2 pages. It's kind of weird to leave a blank back page, I think. There are coming up more face-to-face type of meetings. They kind of went away during COVID and everything was virtual, but they should be starting up again. These are things where you can interact with the agencies, or the agencies can interact with you. So it's the capability statement is the standard for governments on how to introduce your company, and in a really brief way. You can create multiple versions to target different agencies, depending on what they're looking for. You can target it that way. We do have a great webinar on how to write capability statement that you can view. We have a link right here. And here's what to include: brief intro paragraph, your core competencies. This one's really important because you need to put it up there straight up front, what you can do for that agency. That's what they're looking for. What can you do for them? What your differentiators are from your competitors, who your key clients have been, what past performance have you done. If you're in a professional service, your bios. If you're in a supply or product, you may want to use the second page to put a line card or something of that nature. You'll want to put any of your codes and certifications, your contact information, website, and then any photos. If you're in a service, maybe something in action. If you're in supplies, you may want to put your highest selling item or something of that nature. And again, your PTAC counselor can help you with this. We can help you construct it and review it for you, so you get the the best product to take with you to those meetings or to send out via email. This is our template that we have out there. If you click on the webinar, they'll take you to that. And then we also have the free template. This is a template that you can use it shows those core competencies, differentiators, key clients, just what we just talked about. The company snapshot is really important to include your, well, it says DUNS on here still, but you'll use the cage code. And if you get a unique entity ID from SAM, you'll put that. But again, I consider this one for a professional type service. If you're in supplies, you can always use the second page for your line card if you choose. Again, talk to your counselor on which type of capability statement is good for you. You can also, if you're looking in your industry, you can Google capability statement for such and such. So you can do capability statements for janitorial services, and pull that up. Or I just had one recently, was for GIS, geospatial. I had several come up with that, and they were really good. So do that as well. especially if they've been out there a while and they're a professional company that's had government contracting, take a peek at what they have on there, because obviously it's doing them some good. And don't forget to link when you make your web page to put this on your web page and then make it downloadable so someone can print it out. Oh, okay, here we go, website. Again, in this day and age, you have to have a website. Everything is run off social media, and people are going to want to look at your website. It's just what is done these days. This is how you market yourself, is your website. So you really have to have a website if you're going to do, major, any major government contracting, or even to get into the business. You need a website. This is where they're going to go to find out about you. I know I talk about the capability statement. That's for when you walk around and are talking with people at the shows, or if you want to email it out. But when you email it out, you're always going to include your website so they can go and get more information other than what's in your capability statement. So it's really important. I would always have a government tab. If you're working both government and private, definitely have a government tab so you can set yourself apart that you do government contracting. Have that capability statement in there, just showing up, and then also include the link for downloading it, because someone might say, okay, let me download it and I can read it later, and then I can go back to them. Have all your registrations and certifications. So if primes are looking for you, they can find you, all your NAICS and UNSPSC codes. If you're in the state of California, definitely the UNSPSC codes if you plan to do the business with the California state. Most recent projects are highlighted, or recent sales if you're in sales of products. Any past performance and history, and also make sure it's easy to navigate. If you don't know how to set up a website, try to get the money or use some of the money from some of your sales to get someone to set one up for you professionally. I think the costs have come down on getting those prepared, because there's a lot of companies out there that do them now. So take a look around and get that website up and running. And don't just make it a placeholder either and give out that link. That does not look good. If you put a link out there and they go to it and it says website still under construction, don't even put the link out there until it's up and running, because that does not look good. Here's some examples that they pulled up. As you see here, as I was saying, have the government contracts. I think this is actually a true example. So you can go to it and take a look at it. They have a gallery, and then they're talking about your company overview and current previous contracts. So you can always go out and take a look at maybe your competitor and see how you can make your website better than theirs. If there's all the things that you can do to make yourself stand out. So go take a look, do your market research, and find what is going to really make you stand out. Okay, so they're saying here down below they have a link that says read our capability statement. So here they can go and download it, and keep it and read it and maybe pass it around. I know as a small business specialist, I used to get the capability statements all the time, and I would take it to the buyers and go, look, I just got this in, if you have any solicitations coming up, consider this person or send this person a link to the solicitation. This is just another example that they're providing, and this one, they have their clients. So I'm not sure if this was a link to the clients or it's just showing we've done federal work with these agencies. And if you put our clients, and then you should make sure in where you put your performance that you include what you've done for them. Just using their emblems doesn't say what you've done for them. It just says you may have worked for them, or it doesn't really say anything. So if you're going to use these emblems, make sure you state what you've done for these. GSA contract holder, if you have a GSA contract, I'm not really sure why this one is here, because in the beginning you're not going to have a GSA contract. This is for down the road when you're really established in business that you would do this. So I don't know if maybe they're just showing the NAICS codes or what was the purpose of this one. So I'm just going to move on. Marketing to the government. So you want to develop a marketing plan to target the agencies or primes. You'll want to network with those government agencies, prime contractors, other small business. You can always go and do a joint venture or something with another business partnership to meet the needs of the contract that you want to put a proposal in for. Again, there's the expos and matchmakers that you will take your capability statement to. Participate in our training. We always have good training. Look at social media. The world runs by social media these days. So see what's the most popular thing for businesses to advertise on. This one says LinkedIn, but just make sure that's where people are doing business. You'll always want to reach out to the small business representatives, small business specialists, as I was with the Bureau of Reclamation. And then you can always check on dynamic small business search. And this is something your counselor can show you. You can find out who your competition is. You can find out who your competition is within the zip code that you live in. You can also find small business maybe that you want to do a partnership with. You find a solicitation and maybe there's someone out there that can do another part of the solicitation, and you can do a partnership to do that. Okay, where to find bid opportunities, local agency websites, and again, we have a link for that. Or you can just Google San Francisco Procurement Division, like I said, and see how they're posting their solicitations. You can also, if you know who the prime contractor is in your industry, you can also go to their websites and see if they're posting any bid opportunities. Also, if you're in construction or you can go to the Caltrans if you're doing, road constructions and those types of things. They have a contractor's corner where they post all of their upcoming events and the opportunities with that. Primes will put advertisements in there looking for subs. So that's a really good site to go to. Cali Procure has their events. It lists everything that's coming up. Of course, SAM contracting opportunities. SAM can be really hard to navigate. So I recommend getting bid match, set up a bid match, signing up for our services and get bid match, because it just combines everything state, local, and federal, and sends you an email when solicitations come out. But you can go search in SAM and your counselor can help you understand that. And then procurement forecast. I want to make sure I leave enough time for questions. Okay, we're looking good. Acquisition.gov has the forecast of opportunities. So every year in October, the beginning of the fiscal year for the federal government, they have to publish what they plan to spend that's over $250,000, which is the simplified acquisition threshold. So you can go out and look what they plan to buy, and you can see what quarter they plan to buy it. If it's something you're interested in, they usually have a POC on there. You can contact them to see what the status is, how soon they're going to solicit, that type of thing. So that helps you prepare. It's mandatory that they do it. And it's meant to help small businesses know what's coming up in the fiscal year. And again, any associations, or I say the Chamber of Commerce sometimes, just anything where you can network, exchange business information. You never know when you're going to meet that person that's either a mentor or someone that you can work with on a project. Just make sure you make those connections. And again, I talked about the bid match service. It's a really good service. So even if you sign up for nothing other than that, it's a good service, but I'm sure you're going to find tons of other things that your counselor can help you with and help you understand. I always say never go it alone, never sit there in frustration, especially if you're filling out any certifications or registrations. They can go wrong really quickly and you'll get denied. So we're a free service and we're here to help you. So please sign up. Okay, here's our summary. Okay, we'll have time for questions. So the first thing to do is determine if you're even ready for government contract. If you want to get into government contracting, don't just jump in with both feet and do it. Make sure you do the research and understand what you're getting into for government contracting. Apply for PTAC services. That's, yeah, definitely in the right place there. Number 2, as soon as you decide you're going to do government contract, apply for PTAC services so we can help you, walk you through that market research and everything and get you established in all the systems and registrations and certifications. We do have the getting started checklist. I believe that's on our webpage, but I think it might have been back at the beginning. If you go to our webpage, look at our resources, and there should be a getting started checklist. And then get certified. That's kind of one of the things we do after the registration. So I would say getting registered comes before that. So get registered, get certified for number 4. Create your capability statement. And again, like I said, we can help you through that. Do some research on what other people are doing in your industry. Download our template if you need to, and watch the webinar. It gives you good information there. It says update your website, but I would say create and update your website, whichever stage you're at in website building. If you already have a website created, go ahead and get that government tab in there and get your information in there. If you haven't had any experience in government contracts, then put what you can do in government contracting. Network, build relationships, and market your business. These are very, very important. Networking and marketing are 2 things that are usually overlooked. People just think I set up a business and the contract should fall into my lap, but that's not how it works. Government contracting is very, very hard. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of marketing. It takes getting that breakthrough to put you in a position. So just registering and certifying and all this stuff is not going to work if you don't put the time in to do the research, the marketing, and getting your name out there and building those relationships. Locating bid opportunities. Again, we have the bid match that helps a lot. And we can tell you like other places that you could look if you're a client. And then they have fail, then try again. Again, I think that's what I'm saying is it takes a lot of work. You're not going to get it the first time, probably. I hate to say that, but you might, you never know. We can always help you with those, your bids, your proposals, and help you have a leg up, hopefully, to get the right thing in and hopefully win the contract. But usually you're going to fail, and that's okay. You just try again. You try to get the experience that they're looking for to try again. And then number 10, of course, once you have everything working properly, you're going to win contracts. But again, it's a lot of work. So really think it over if you're going to get into government contracting, and your counselor can help you. Doesn't cost you anything to get PTAC counseling services. So when we're done here today, just go sign up and talk to somebody. Are you doing this one, Amanda?
Yeah, I definitely can.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah, I can take over. We want to see you succeed. We are here as a program and as people to help you and your business be successful in government contracting. So please reach out to connect with us. Even if we may not be your local center, you're always welcome to attend these webinars and use the resources on our website. So just make sure you're reaching out to connect. I feel like, and Nancy can back me up on this, networking is a huge part of government contracting. And if your network starts with us, I think that's a really good place to start. So we'll go ahead and move on to the Q&A portion. Again, I do want to remind folks that these slides, as well as the recording of this event, will be available to you by the end of this week. We'll be emailing it out to you. So you will have that to review and refresh yourself, even in the new weeks and even further out. But before we move on to our questions, I do want to make you aware of some of our upcoming trainings. We have a, oh,
My fault, sorry.
no worries. Zoom can be a little fickle.
Oh, I did.
Um,
Sorry, there we go.
We have an overview of the women-owned and economically disadvantaged women-owned small business certification coming up next Tuesday on the 18th. It will be virtual and it's going to be presented by Nancy as well, as she is our foremost expert on the team for women-owned certifications. And then an exciting event, an in-person workshop in Fort Bragg, how to do business with the state of California specifically. This is going to be a fantastic event that we're hosting in person at the pub at North Coast Brewing Company in Fort Bragg, California. So if you're able to join us, please do make sure to register for these events, as registration is required. But we hope to see you at some of these. And with that, we'll go ahead and go into all of these amazing questions. So I have a first question for you, Nancy. Maria has a notary commission and is also a state employee. She's wondering if she's eligible to offer her notary services to other government agencies outside of her state employee hours.
That is something you're going to have to run by your ethics advisor. You may have to get permission to do that. And I'm not in a position to tell you yes or no. So you need to run that by your ethics counselor. And that's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm qualified to really say about that one.
Yeah, that's perfect. We definitely don't want to give any misinformation. So
Right.
we will be limited to our expertise in our realm.
Okay.
And then we have Brianna, who's asking if you can do contracting as an independent contractor and if you can take advantage of PTAC services as an independent contractor.
I'm not sure what she means by independent contractor.
So I do believe this would be maybe a sole proprietorship.
Oh.
Or
yes.
something similar in that vein, where it's not quite a full company, maybe just her, maybe just
Okay.
her and one other person.
Oh yeah, we can definitely help. We help sole proprietors. We don't limit it to LLCs or corporations or anything like that. We help a lot of sole proprietors. We have a lot of them for the Forest Service and firefighting help. We do have a lot of sole proprietors for that. If you're talking about maybe what's it called, a franchise, or if you work off of another company as an independent contractor in sales and stuff like that, you would just go ahead and sign up, and we can work through all of that. We can see if you're the right fit, if there's anything that we can do for you. So I wouldn't say not to sign up. You can definitely sign up, and we'll work through all that. Your counselor will work through all that.
Absolutely. And then William was wondering what the specific difference between a NICS code and the UNSPSC codes are.
Well, the difference is NAICS codes are for federal contracting and UNSPSC codes are for California contracting. California does not use NAICS codes, and they are codes that classify your business or service into certain categories, because that's how solicitations are sent out. They're based on either a NAICS codes or a UNSPSC codes, and you have to, for the NAICS codes, you have to have those in your SAM registration, that you certify that you do those NAICS codes, and UNSPSC codes, you have to have those in your California registration. If you have those in your California registration, anytime there's a requirement, they'll send you an email saying this matches your UNSPSC codes. The NAICS codes, that's how the federal does their solicitation. So you'll have to have those in SAM.
Fantastic. So knowing the scope of where you want to be contracting with the federal, with state, it's probably one of the first things that you should figure out with a counselor.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, for example, I always use janitorial because it's the easiest thing. And I did a lot of janitorial contracts. So, janitorial has a specific NAICS code that says janitorial. So when they're writing a contract, they're going to use that NAICS code to get a janitorial. So you'll want, in SAM, you'll want the janitorial NAICS code. In California, you want the janitorial UNSPSC code, because you have to be registered saying that you have that code in order to get the contract.
Awesome. And then we have a question from Humberto. He's asking what specific services or what kind of processes would you help for someone who would be a local contractor looking to do business with the county?
Yeah, we would just get you, if the county has any type of registration, like maybe you have to register as a vendor with the county, we can help you with that. If they have any type of certification, like Alameda has the SLEB, the Small Local Emerging Business certification that you can get. San Francisco has one. There's several counties that have them. After that, we can go out and look at their procurement site. If they have an open procurement site, we can look and see what's available. If it's a closed one, you'll have to register and maybe you'll have to pay a fee. Just depends. A lot of the county and the city ones, they use like UBid or MyBid or something like that, that you have to pay in order to see them. But then we can also find out who in the county does the purchasing that you can market yourself to, send them your capability statement. So we can run that whole gamut for any of the local contracting. It's just we have to figure out how they do contracting to do that for you, to help you with that. But we can definitely help you. Go ahead and sign up.
Fantastic. And then I do want to note that we are at the top of the hour. It is 11 o'clock, but we do have a couple more questions that, as long as Nancy has the availability, will stay on and answer. To anybody who does have to leave us at the top of this hour, you will be redirected to a feedback survey. Like I've said, we do this for you to help you be successful, and your feedback is crucial in making sure that the webinars that we're producing are relevant to what you're seeing on the contracting world. So please fill out that survey if you have a moment, and we'll get back to our questions.
Yeah. I'm free. I can stay as long as we need to, as long as you can, Amanda.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Christopher, who advertises that he's CASBE certified on like his email letterheads and his correspondence. Would you recommend putting federal certifications or even like the SAM UEI up there as well?
Yeah, I would include the SAM UEI, your cage code as well, because that shows that you've gone through the cage validation for your physical address. I would put anything on there that you have, and you can go look at our example of our capability statement and look in the client snapshot, and like the first few things is what you should have on. If you're just going to use your letterhead, then those things that you should have on there. I would include any federal certifications too, if you have them.
Absolutely. And then Israel asked, are proposals that were won for a contract available to the public?
No. The pricing will be available. You can find out what the contract was awarded for, but you can, for federal, you can always write the contracting officer and ask them for a copy of the proposal. If they don't want to give you a copy, you can always file a Freedom of Information Act and try and get a copy of the proposal. A lot of times they won't release proposals because they're proprietary. The company may have a proprietary method or proprietary software. So you may only just get the cost breakdown. You won't get exactly how they bid or what they're going to do. But that's one way to try to find out what was contracted for. Usually you're just going to find out the pricing. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's where having a network of knowing your industry, knowing your competitors, like you may be able to ask personally, right? I know I've heard that being done.
Yeah, you can try, if you want to partner with them or maybe do mentor protege or something like that, they can help you out. But most of the time people don't want to release their proposals.
It
And
is,
that's just competition, that's just the democratic, government way of doing business, how, America was built. So it's all based on competition, and you don't really want to give your competitors the opportunity to look at your winning proposal.
yeah,
It's just not done. So that's all I'll say about that.
fantastic. And then we have Philip, who asks, what if you're an organization that that covers a large
Yeah.
number of industries?
Trades,
Yeah,
it's best of multiple. Yeah, this is one. I had this before. I'm working with one right now where she has different LLCs. She has a main category, and then she has a DBA is this, and a DBA is that, and a DBA is that. So we're trying to work through what is the best option for that. For you, Philip, I would say to get with a, let me think, hang on one second. I don't want to give out business advice. For this one, I would say work with the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center. And do you have a link for them, Amanda, you could put in that? Because I think there's another question that was asking about
absolutely.
SBDC, a link to SBDC. I can't give business advice or organizational structuring. So this sounds like you may want to have an overall company maybe, and then put the LLCs under them, but I'm not sure how all that works. So I'm just going to stop there and have you go to SBDC and ask them the question.
And I will be dropping that link in chat here in a moment. I just need
Okay.
to pull it up. Fantastic. So we do have a question from Michael, and it sounds like he should also be touching base with SBDC. He's been in the consultancy IT agencies for a while, but he's just starting his new business. So what kind of advice would you give to someone who knows they want to do government contracting, but are in the beginning stages of setting up their business?
Right. Yeah. Again, as Amanda said, get in touch with the SBDC because they can help you, one, with that business plan of how to structure your business. A lot of people kind of blow off the business plan, but it is really important. So get with them and talk to them about a business plan. Once you've got that covered and stood up as a business, and maybe you're venturing into some contracts or working with some privately owned businesses, then go ahead and contact us, and we can get you set up to work locally with those counties, cities, the state, and then move you towards federal if you happen to want to go into federal. But it's a kind of a slow climb to bring everything to development and get going in the business.
Fantastic. And then the last question is from Ron, and he's asking if there are any specific websites that they can find the information of what government agencies purchase. So where can they go to do their own market research?
Yeah, I have a list on my own. I'm just thinking, if you want to become a client, you could, we could definitely give you that list and even help you do the market research. But some of the free ones are fsd.gov. That's Frank Sierra Delta fsd.gov. No, I'm saying that wrong. Oh, sorry. I have the Federal Service Desk on my mind. It's FPDS. F Frank Papa Delta Sierra, fpds.gov. That is the federal site where all contracting officers have to submit their awards. It's for the Congress, actually. fpds.gov is where Congress goes and gets reports on how the money is being spent, where it's being spent, what, and and also helps them to understand if they're using the money properly and if they're within their budget. So, but you can find contracts that were awarded out there. It is a bit hard to navigate, so I recommend, if you need help with that, to talk to your counselor. The other one is it USA Spend, Amanda?
I believe so.
I'm drawing a blank right now. There's usaspend.gov. It's another free site. Within
USA Spending.
usaspending.gov. Sorry, I'm just having a blank. I believe we have these on the website or as resources, don't we, Amanda?
Yes.
So
And
go take a look at our website. We have tons of resources out there, please. Even if you don't sign up for counseling, there's tons of resources, tons of our past webinars to watch. It's all free to you.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
plenty of resources, and you'll find even more sites than Nancy can list off the top of her head.
Yeah, there's just so many. So just become a client and we can help you with that market research. It's, it's what we do. We know how to do it. So save you a lot of struggling and trying to figure out how the government does things, because that's not easy to understand. So definitely sign up for our services. If you're just starting out, go to SBDC, like Amanda dropped in there. They're kind of our sister service, I call them. So they do the business side and we do the contracting side. So if you need startup money, financing, anything to do with payroll, like Amanda was saying, they're your go-to business people. And get that business plan. That's really important.
Yep. And both our services and SBDCs are at absolutely no cost to you. So why not take advantage of them?
It's your taxpayer money at use. So, get the most out of it. And we always need small businesses to keep that infrastructure, our small business infrastructure moving. That's the majority of contracts are with small business within the government. So we definitely need you. So, we're here to help you get into that arena if you really want to.
Absolutely. So thank you again to everyone who was able to join us. That is the end of our questions and the end of the webinar. Just as another quick reminder, you will be redirected to a feedback survey. Your feedback on these webinars and our resources is invaluable. So if you have a moment, we would really appreciate that. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.